Why do people on a ketogenic diet have higher LDL particles? Well, you have low blood sugars. Hi friends, have you heard of red yeast rice or red koji and its ability to lower cholesterol? It is true. Do you know why it can lower cholesterol, including low density lipoprotein cholesterol and triglycerides? It's because it has a fungus in it called Monacolin fungi that literally makes Monacolin K, the exact same ingredient in the blockbuster billion-dollar drug called Lovastatin. And the reason why red yeast extract has a statin is because Lovastatin is a natural product discovered by fermenting fungus, just like the first antibiotic penicillin. And the reason why you don't see red yeast extract supplements with the claim that it can lower cholesterol is because the FDA has made it illegal for supplements to contain any Lovastatin without their approval for its sale. So isn't it kind of weird that you can't even buy an ingredient that has technically been eaten in food for thousands of years without a prescription? Studies show that the supplement actually works, and it seems to work better than diet and lifestyle alone, at least in the short term. But the combination of diet and lifestyle, along with the supplement, appeared to work even better. Now, keep in mind, these studies were pretty short and only followed patients for a few weeks. However, this study followed patients out for several years and showed that there was less cardiac complications, which is really why people want to lower their LDL particles. What's even more interesting was that the total amount of Lovastatin used as the effective dose in red yeast rice was half as much as a counterpart effective dose of the prescription drug Lovastatin. Now, obviously, there is more than one bioactive molecule in red yeast rice. Now, too bad Franklin Delano Roosevelt, he didn't take red yeast rice. He probably would have had lower blood pressure too. Now, isn't it odd that companies can sell you legal carcinogens like tobacco and alcohol, but companies can't sell you a natural product that has existed for thousands of years with well-documented health benefits to reduce the number one cause of death around the world? Cigarettes cause nearly 500,000 deaths every year in the United States. Another 178,000 deaths are from alcohol, but there have been no deaths from red yeast extracts that have occurred in the United States. However, overseas in Japan, red yeast extracts were linked to 175 deaths. And this is because their fermented product got contaminated with a blue mold penicillium that produced pubulic acid that actually causes renal failure. Hence, it's always a good idea to get your labs tested if you're planning to take any supplement. Now, if the FDA is going to ban foods due to food poisoning, then how come it hasn't banned processed meats? I mean, besides the recent Listeria outbreak, there's E. coli, there's Salmonella, there's Campylobacter that causes outbreaks annually. Literally, processed meats are known to increase your cholesterol, give you more heart disease. They also increase your risk of strokes, as well as chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, type 2 diabetes, and cancers. So not only does the FDA allow you to eat these toxic products and pretend that they are okay or to be consumed as food, but they also allow so many third parties to sell it every time you go to a sandwich shop. And on top of that, they don't even require that any of the companies prove they're not contaminated with deadly bacteria so that you don't get food poisoning. 10 years ago, I actually went to a sandwich shop to buy my son lunch, and I watched the employee touch raw meat, put it on the grill, and with the same hands, without washing them or taking off his gloves, he went to assemble the sandwich and picked up some raw lettuce. Now, there is no way I would ever eat there. Now, I'm not going to name this chain sandwich shop, but you may want to watch people assemble your food, because if they cross-contaminate your sandwich, you're probably going to get food poisoning. And if you survive that food poisoning incident, there's a 10% chance you will develop post-infectious irritable bowel syndrome, if not other neurological conditions. Now, many of you have commented that when it comes to cholesterol, my science is out of date, and that the new studies show no one has to worry about cholesterol. So let me explain how cholesterol works, and feel free to leave more comments if you think I have the biochemistry and clinical outcomes wrong. There are particles like submarines in which your LDL particles and your triglycerides, they ride in to be transported in your blood. And when you reduce the number of LDL particles, you reduce your progression to atherosclerosis, which reduces your risk of having heart attacks. And in reality, many things cause atherosclerosis, including high blood pressure. Now, atherosclerosis has been the leading cause of death for decades in America and around the world. And in fact, our great president, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, he suffered a massive stroke in 1945 that ended his presidency because he died. And that day, he had a blood pressure of 350 over 195 millimeters of mercury, which is simply not compatible with life. But he didn't just wake up one day getting high blood pressure. He had high blood pressure that was accumulating and getting higher over the years. Unfortunately, his doctors, they didn't know what to do with him except to watch his blood pressure go up. And they told him to take it easy and try to change his diet, but obviously that was the wrong diet. Now, his death initiated the Framingham heart study.
I collected memorabilia of what life was like in the late 40s and early 50s in Framingham. They had some big, elaborate restaurants pre-McDonald's where they ate socially, often with entertainment, and ate real food. But despite that and staying slender, they had very high rates of heart disease. The founding mission of the study was to figure out the cause of heart attacks and strokes. So what have they learned about one of the major causes, high blood pressure, in 75 years?
We know pretty definitively that high levels of salt in the diet increase levels of blood pressure.
That's still going strong 75 years later. And that study connected total cholesterol levels with fatal atherosclerotic diseases like strokes in the 1960s. So if you want a success story about improving diet quality, lowering cholesterol, and reducing early deaths, look into Finland, which had 2 to 3 times higher mortality than other European nations and Japan in the 1950s. Now, if the Finnish waited until 1987 when Lovastatin was approved by the FDA to treat cholesterol, well, they wouldn't have increased their longevity by 11.6 years, especially because simply taking statin doesn't necessarily improve your longevity, especially if you don't have the right diet. You see, one camp thinks medications that help lower cholesterol will help lower your risk of death. Basically, you should live longer. But on the other side, we know that diet can dramatically reduce your cholesterol and can work even better than statins and reduce your risk of having complications if you get your diet right. Now, one reason why I think cholesterol is such a controversial topic is because people don't agree on the diet. And hence, I look at population observational studies to help clarify this data for me. So in the 1950s, you can basically split countries into 2 camps. On one side, you have well-to-do Western countries that had good public health systems, good water quality, good nutrition, and were free of war. This was America and Western Europe. On the other side of the globe, you had people with massive nutritional deficiencies from food shortages, infectious diseases, and wars. This was Asia. Asians, of course, looked towards the West with envy. And when Asian countries invested in sanitation, effective public health programs, provided good food and nutrition to their people, and stopped fighting, they ended up doing better than the West when it comes to longevity. Now, Japan increased their life expectancy 17.5 years between 1958 and 2024. And now they are still some of the longest living people on earth as a nation. But once you take that Japanese person and move them to America, like in Hawaii, and adopt an American processed food diet, they start developing American Western metabolic diseases like high cholesterol. So how you get to high cholesterol is really important. And people who have high cholesterol, they generally don't just have high cholesterol. They have many other markers that are abnormal, including high blood pressure, high blood sugar, and are overweight. Now, cholesterol is just one marker for how healthy your raw material is in your body, because cholesterol is a part of the scaffolding for your cell membranes in your entire body. It's like construction material used to build your house. Cholesterol is used to build your body. And just like your house, if you have extra construction material like wood, it'll just probably lay on the ground and block the walkway and be a nuisance for traffic. So if you have extra cholesterol in your blood vessel, it's just gonna lay on your blood vessels and block traffic and be a nuisance for your blood flow. Your body has a total of about 35 grams of cholesterol throughout your entire body in all its cells. But it's not only found in the membranes of each cell, but it also serves essential functional roles, like to make bile acids so you can digest fats, to make steroid hormones like cortisol, aldosterone, estrogen, testosterone, and to make vitamin D. And without these hormones, you essentially can't live. So cholesterol is a very important molecule to sustain life. So for something this important, the body actually has a built-in system. So it doesn't have to rely on you to find food and eat cholesterol. In fact, just about all your cells can synthesize its own cholesterol, and the backup is your liver. Your liver actually makes 10% of your total body's cholesterol. So just in case on those rainy days in which you actually need more cholesterol. And this is why people can do fasting and they don't just keel over. And this is also why eating cholesterol doesn't really elevate your cholesterol by much. Now, here's another reason why glucose is an essential molecule for life. The metabolism of glucose makes a molecule called acetyl-CoA. And by combining a few acetyl-CoAs together with enzymes like HMG-CoA reductase, a special molecule called malvinolate is created as a building block committed to make cholesterol. Now, lots of things can affect HMG-CoA reductase activity. If you have an abundance of cholesterol, your body will dial down the activity of HMG-CoA reductase to lower your production of fresh cholesterol. However, if you have an overactive thyroid or poorly controlled blood sugars resulting in sky-high insulin, well, your liver is going to make more cholesterol. Hence, if you are going up in your insulin injections or you have insulin resistance and persistently high blood sugars, then your cholesterol will get higher and higher. And this is why simply taking a drug to lower cholesterol may not extend your longevity, because you're not addressing the reason why you have high cholesterol. You're just addressing the endpoint, but you're not fixing the root cause. But if you have low blood sugars, then your body releases a hormone called glucagon that tells your liver to make more glucose. So in the presence of glucagon, the production of cholesterol shuts off. Since you need more glucose to make cholesterol and you're already struggling with getting that glucose. So why do people on a ketogenic diet have higher LDL particles while you have low blood sugars?
After 7 months of being on a ketogenic diet, I got an 8.5 sheet of paper, 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper that changed my life forever because my cholesterol levels had gone through the roof.
And when you get off the ketogenic diet, then your cholesterol dramatically decreases as well. And there are several theories for why this happens. First of all, it is assumed that people who are on a ketogenic diet, they tend to eat more meat, which include red meat like beef and pork that are associated with elevated cholesterol levels. And second, those products are generally high in saturated fats, known to increase cholesterol. And whether you're eating meats or keto ice creams or pounds of whipping cream, butter, or coconut cream, it is well known if you're eating saturated fat, whether it's carnivorous or vegan, you will increase your cholesterol levels. And this is why coconut oil is not healthy. And if you think about it, having an abundance of dairy fat is why the Finnish had short lifespans. Because when they reduced their dairy fat, they were able to increase their longevity by 11.6 years. Now, another reason could be that some people had genetic mutations like the LDL-R gene, elevating their cholesterol. Now, fourth, people on a ketogenic diet may be backed up and not going to the bathroom often enough to clear out their cholesterol. And this is because every day your liver actually dumps 15 to 30 grams of bile in your intestines. Bile is full of cholesterol. So if you're not going to the bathroom, you're losing that opportunity to poop your cholesterol down the drain. Now, fifth, when you're on a ketogenic diet, there's an energy metabolism shift to fat, really the requirement for triglycerides, since you don't have much glucose. They're breaking down more VLDL particles, which all become LDL and HDL particles. So this will raise your LDL particle level. And lastly, when you eat, you aren't just feeding yourself, you're feeding your gut microbiome. If your diet is fiber deficient in both quantity and quality, the good gut microbes will struggle to survive and thrive. And they could have helped you modify that cholesterol into coprostanol to prevent its reabsorption or to make short-chain fatty acids like butyrate that reduces the synthesis of cholesterol by the liver. Now, another way that people lose cholesterol is when they shed their skin. And so even though you lose 15 to 30 grams of bile acids every day in your intestines are super good at absorbing them. And in the end, you roughly lose only 0.5 grams of bile when you do number 2. So if you have high cholesterol, one easy way to reduce your cholesterol is to poop more often. And when you poop, you're also shedding some skin. Now, your cholesterol level is highly related to your diet. Now, if you have high cholesterol, your diet is unlikely to be optimal for your health. And I'm sure that was a controversial statement, as many people want to believe that their isolated cholesterol level by itself will not lead to any harmful effects, nor contribute to atherosclerosis. And this is akin to the analogy that in 2020, as healthcare workers, we were given the okay to go to work with a scarf. And the reality is, life often can't wait for science to confirm the evidence. And in Western medicine and allopathic medicine, we always think that it's so much better to take a medicine or to change the ancient practices that have been shown to work in longevity cultures. So then why do people on a ketogenic diet have higher cholesterol levels? They shouldn't be making much cholesterol at all if they have low blood sugars, right? And we know that when they get off their ketogenic diet, their cholesterol dramatically decreases as well, whether they do it with Oreo cookies or just a normal healthy diet.
Adding 12 Oreo cookies per day, about 100 grams of extra carbs, to my otherwise standard low-carb ketogenic diet. I began the statin phase with my starting LDL at 421 milligrams per deciliter and similar body composition. After 3 weeks on 20 milligrams of rosuvastatin, my LDL cholesterol started to plateau in the 280s and 290s with a low of 284 milligrams per deciliter during the 6-week phase. Notice how this compares to the Oreo arm. 12 Oreos per day lowered my LDL by 273 milligrams per deciliter or 71%, while high-intensity statin therapy only lowered my LDL by 137 milligrams per deciliter or 32.5%.
Now, everyone is so shocked that food works better than medicine. I'm not sure why, because this has been proven a century ago that a calorie-restricted, high-carbohydrate, low-fat diet can improve cholesterol values since 1930. I think when it comes to chronic diseases, we're obviously wrong because we seem to live less and less every year. And so instead of trying to make up experimental lifestyles and diets, I would rather learn from generations of other people and see what they did to stay healthy and live long, like the Asians. Now, I have yet to find a long-lived culture in which their way of life was either eating tons of fat, like a ketogenic diet, or eat tons of animal meat, like a carnivorous diet. In fact, I can't even find a mammal that lives long eating those diets. Now, obviously, the ketogenic diet is not like natural food, but the longest living carnivorous animal is the orca whale that can live to about 100 years old. And these guys are constantly exercising, eating high omega-3 fats, and doing cold water therapy. Now, however, their cousins, the bowhead whale, they can live well over 200 years, and they're basically filter feeders. And they do colder water therapy living in the Arctic. Now, of course, there's always going to be exceptions to the generalizations because 1 in 250 people inherit genes that prevent them to abnormally clear high cholesterol, so they have super high levels. They are at higher risk of aggressive atherosclerosis. So that's why it's important to always get your cholesterol panel checked, like lipoprotein(a), to see if you inherited some of those unideal genes. Now, when I graduated from college, my dad took me to China to visit his relatives, and that was my first time there. There were almost no cars on the road except for ours. The air quality was great, and people still lived in straw huts in the countryside or concrete buildings with dirt floors in major cities. And at that time, just about everybody went around with a bicycle. The streets were filled with hundreds of cyclists. I was considered overweight. I was about the same size as I am now, except I was less fit. And in fact, my cousins told me flat out I should lose some weight. And I was big for that country because there was no way I could fit in any of their clothes. So now fast forward to 4 years ago, and I went back to China again. The cars are congesting the roads like Southern California. Instead of bicycles, you're either in a car or you're on a moped. Now, and the buildings are now majestic appearing feats surrounded by gray skies. But despite their enormous economic growth, they still eat lots of traditional Asian foods like red yeast rice, which has been a dietary staple in Asia for centuries since 800 AD, and it's been used in traditional Chinese medicine as well. Now, its properties have been extensively described in ancient Chinese pharmacopoeias since 1368. And today, red yeast rice is used to produce various fermented foods in China, Korea, and Japan. Now, the problem with red yeast rice extract supplements is that some of the red yeast rice extract products may only contain super small amounts of Monacolin K and really not do anything for your blood cholesterol. But if you're taking them, just know that you are essentially taking an unregulated medication, and you really should get together with your doctor to hear the pros and cons and be monitored, because they can have extreme side effects if they have contaminants. Now, even without contaminants, red yeast rice can have some mild side effects. And just like the prescription medication, the supplement can also potentially cause fatal liver damage, as well as muscle damage called myopathy. So this is why, whether you're taking a supplement or on a prescription medication, it's important to see your doctor to get your labs monitored regularly. A simple liver enzyme test and a creatinine kinase test will be able to help your doctor figure out if you have any liver or muscle damage. And clearly, if they are abnormal, then you should really consider stopping your supplement or medication. Now, sometimes red yeast rice supplements, they can contain a contaminant called citrulline, which actually also causes kidney failure. But the supplement industry apparently has gotten much better in that quality control, and newer versions of red yeast rice dietary supplements, they don't appear to have citrulline as tested by consumer labs. So essentially, when you take red yeast rice extracts, you are taking a statin, and all statins have drug interactions. Number one, they can both, like I said, harm your liver and be liver toxic, so that you really want to avoid other liver toxic substances such as alcohol and acetaminophen. Now, if you're taking any kind of immunosuppressive agent like cyclosporine, you really should tell your provider all your medications and supplements, because you increase the risk of toxicity for myopathy and changes in your drug level. And of course, if you're on any other medications that interfere with liver enzymes, and you may want a discussion with your provider about either statins or red yeast extract. Now, don't forget grapefruit juice and grapefruits, because they could potentially amplify your drug levels and give you more side effects. And definitely, if you're already on a cholesterol medication, don't start a supplement until you have your doctor review your cholesterol medications and the supplements, because you don't want to double dose. For example, in Fibrosol, they can actually interact with red yeast rice extracts and to give you more myopathy. And you definitely don't want to take a statin on that, because then you'll be like tripling the side effects. Even vitamins like niacin, they can interact with red yeast rice extract, and you can get more side effects. Now, I mentioned that I eat red koji like miso, and I eat it for its health benefits. And if you want to know other health benefits of miso, watch the next video.